Daniel's doing these at night to scratch my TV, so they're totally squint. Pain in the arse.
See, as soon as they're squint, they're fucked.
Yeah, pain in the arse. I can balance it as long as I don't move around too much. Hello and welcome to the Beginner's Handbook. I'm Jordan.
I'm Jamie.
And in this episode we want to do something a bit different. You know, we do specials, or at least we want to do specials at different times of the year. We've done one for Halloween.
Yep.
By this time at least there'll be one out for Christmas.
Yep.
But for this one we just want to do, it's a New Year's video, but particularly because it's the end of the first year of us doing the channel, we thought maybe we'd double that up as a channel update. And just let you know a few things, maybe a wee bit more about why we started doing this in the first place, but more just to let you know what's actually happening. Now normally we do a question at the start for those that are listening or watching, but we'll give you that at the end, so just make sure to listen for that. So for this one, I think, why don't we just jump straight into it, because really it's a state of this channel in terms of what we've done, maybe why we've done it, how we even got around to doing it. We do have information about that already, but we'll just cover a wee bit about it just to set the scene to why we're going to continue to do more and give you some little hints about what we're going to be doing next.
Yeah, so I can't remember exactly when we first talked about doing this, but at some point in the past, I think that's about as accurate as I can make it.
A while ago.
Yeah, so we were hanging out and talking, and then at whatever point in the conversation, I can't remember how it got round to it, I turned around to you and went, I was thinking about doing a podcast, and you know, looking at it from somebody who's completely new to RPGs, D&D more specifically, because that's what I've done the most of, and just kind of given some of my experience over and kind of just seeing if it manages to help somebody. And then you turned around and went, that's funny, because I was thinking about doing a podcast, and I can't remember what your kind of original idea was, if it was exactly the same or ever so slightly different.
There was
remember.
kind of tie-ins. Like I'd been writing game notes for like probably the year up to, I don't know if it was as long as a year at the point we were speaking, but I had game notes from like campaigns that have been running for a long time at that point, and I've probably mentioned some of them during the podcast so far. And I was going to be looking at kind of writing up stuff that I'd learned, kind of like the dummy DM type thing, you know, and just talk about it and just share it. Not looking for much out of it, just more because I have a creative kind of push. I do a lot of coding in my spare time. I do not so much at the moment, but I've done a lot of game development and a whole bunch of other stuff, because I worked in animation and things before. So I found that as a kind of easy thing to do. So whether it be writing blog posts or little articles or whatever, because everything I do requires a good bloody computer, but it also takes a long bloody time. Like I did a game last Christmas, it was 24 hours, but I was literally awake for 24 hours making the game. It was an absolute nightmare, and then had to push out a post-launch update because it didn't work. I was gutted. Although I do enjoy it, so whereas doing that sort of stuff for me, I was doing the game so much anyway, so I just thought I'll just pick up things as I go and make bullets, and then maybe talk about it, and maybe as well just review little RPGs that I got my hands on, because I've still got stuff there in my cupboard, the bookshelf that I've not even opened yet, and it's coming up to Christmas.
Make it a bit bigger, say the library.
The library, well, it's up. I need to get a library. There's so much. Half of it's upstairs now as well, because there's no space. But so I was basically just doing all of that, and I just thought, well, I'll do that. But I kind of was a bit humming and hawing about it, and I couldn't really. Part of it was just not knowing how to do this stuff, but other part of it was like, I just didn't have the motivation. But that's when we actually spoke about it originally. A long time after that, and kind of leaving it and sometimes doing my wee writing bits and whatever, we ended up speaking about it. Because I mean, things like actual play channels, it's stuff I considered that I've helped somebody I know does an actual channel. I won't shout them out in case I've not published in a while. I need to double check, but I can't remember where they're at with that. But they've done stuff I've helped a lot editing, so that was stuff I toyed with as well. So there was a few things floating about, but I ended up there was too much, and I was so busy with work and things, because I had 2 jobs at the time at one point during all of that. Then we spoke about doing something, and we thought, well, why don't we just do something almost like sort of like an element of the dummy DM thing, kind of bringing in maybe coming from a perspective for new players. I know there's more than enough information out there for new players, for much bigger channels, for much probably better presenters. These people have been doing it for 5 to 10 years, some of them, you know. No criticism on us. It's just these guys some of them are like big borderline famous people as well that are doing these introduction channels, or at least over time they've become somewhat, I guess, YouTube famous. So, but it was more just us just sharing opinions. We like doing this stuff. I mean, originally it was going to be podcast only, at least that's the way I was seeing it, just because I couldn't be bothered with the editing, quite frankly, originally. I do a lot of editing, but I thought, well, we'll just mess around, because that's what the other stuff I was doing was. But then that's when we'd actually discovered that, you know, Jamie had all this equipment, you know. I mean, I've got a mic, but Jamie's got a nice camera, a big set of lights, because I'm thinking it wouldn't probably look that good, so I can't really be bothered sitting editing it all, and then it looks terrible. And probably looking at older videos, it probably doesn't look as good, but maybe it looks better now, I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, we decided to opt for just, why don't we just do it all, you know. And the thing is, we've managed to get the editing and things down to still take a wee bit of time, but you know, it's not that long at all. The longest thing's actually getting it uploaded and things like that. Just waiting for the upload, I mean. But so I ended up doing the whole thing, and it's now just grown quite a bit, and that's basically it. I mean, we had a few videos in the backlog. I think we probably didn't, was it the beginning of this year? That's when we started actually seriously thinking, let's actually sit and record. We'd spoke about it a long time. I think it was about the end of last year. We thought, let's do it, and then we decided to start recording early this year.
Yeah, so from the dusty memory banks, I think it was around about February we started recording.
That would probably be about right.
And I'm thinking it was around about February, because me and Jordan, our birthdays are both in February. I'm 5 days older than Jordan, so that's why I'm taller. So because of that, we went, well, January there's the sort of tail end of Christmas and seeing family and all the other kind of things that you do. We're both kind of generally quite busy around about that sort of time. And then a birthday as well in February, at the start of February, then you've got that other kind of busier period. But from that point on, it kind of runs clear for a good while, and then it kind of starts to get a bit busier towards the kind of tail end of the year. So I think it was more just, rather than we went, right, okay, let's make it February because that will give us a clear run. It was just, we kind of were going to do it earlier, but because, again, Jordan had 2 jobs at the time, maniac, that it just time-wise was not really working out, and we didn't kind of want to start, then have to stop, then start and stop, and just have it kind of broken up. We wanted to kind of just be able to start it, kind of figure out what we've got time-wise, and just slowly get into a kind of rhythm of it. And it just so happened that the kind of mid-February onwards was roughly the sort of time that happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of these things. It's like, because there's so many people. I mean, I know people that want to stream games have asked me. I'm like, oh, I can't do anything else with the time I've got. There's so little time to do things now. But I mean, there's so many things, and we thought, I mean, we just decided we'd stopped for ourselves to just try it, because I mean, we didn't really, I know we thought about publishing and things, but we never, I don't think we had a hard thing. We're like, let's just do it. Let's just sit down and record, see how we feel, and if we like it, let's push it out. We've got some amazing pals that we thought they can even have a look at it. They might tell us it sucks, and then we go, well, it doesn't matter, we'll do it anyway. But because we're doing it more for the enjoyment of producing stuff, that's something that I actually really enjoy when I see posts coming up and I get notifications. So remember to hit those bells and things, but the notification bell. But I'll see that pop up, and I forget the episodes are coming out, because we'll schedule them out, which is what we've done with the first few. I even forgot, like, this first episode was coming out back when it came out in June. So June was 29th, I think, was the first video that came out, and we ended up doing a trailer as well. And it was like some of these bells are coming up, and that's kind of cool. And then you start to see people watching, which is nice. You know, there's not a lot, if any, comments right now, but it's not really so much what it's about. I think for us, it's about just sharing some of the stuff that we've done, some of the fumbles particularly. If people enjoy it, that's cool. If they don't, well, we're enjoying just doing it. But what I would say then is that kind of brings us on to some of the stuff that we've been doing now. So we've now been doing this, like, we've got way more episodes since from then until now. We've stuck with one a month. I'll maybe talk about the schedule actually a bit later, but we decided like we're actually quite enjoying it, you know. We do like making the videos, and from them we've kind of bought some more lights. We've even changed, you'll see, and this will probably change in the future as well, where some of the production elements might change. For us, the editing will probably keep fairly simple, maybe depending on special episodes we'll put extra things in, but fundamentally this is a podcast, you know, and if people watch it on YouTube and prefer to watch stuff on YouTube, you've got the option. But you know, one thing, and it was something that you'd said, that it was the thing that flipped it over for me, where, you know, I mean, I listen to podcasts on YouTube and I don't watch them like at all. I know there's video, but I don't watch them. But certainly some people prefer actually getting the face to the voice or whatever. So it made it go, well, we can produce this in like once and be able to share it across these different platforms. And from there, even like the videos, it didn't become, it wasn't monotonous, but I've done a lot of video editing. I've helped run other channels in the past. I've helped produce like professional material like in previous jobs. So, and some of that stuff, the editing and anything involved in it is incredibly monotonous because it's a different beast basically. So for us, like we got it down to a good rhythm. You know, it'll take a wee bit of time, but it doesn't take us like 3 days to make an episode. Do you know what I mean? If you include the episode and the editing and releasing it, you could maybe say a morning and a half's worth of work or something. You know, it's like a morning, slight afternoon. That's including getting together and thinking of stuff. There's maybe other stuff that we do that's outside of that too, but that's in terms of production. So I think with that, we've kind of now, you know, we've invested some more light, or you've invested in more lights. I've got another mic.
See, thinking about that, and we've done the Halloween episode. I've just thought about this, and this shows you when you get something new, it doesn't matter what it is, just make sure you know how to use it. I totally forgot that can do different effects and stuff. So see, when we done the Halloween episode, we could have had it flickering on and off, and
I'm thinking of getting smart lights,
like a bulb going out, and we could have done all sorts of stuff with that, and it's just sitting there on full, just there. No,
I mean, I do so many games. I was thinking of buying, like, I've got these horrible lights in here, so and half of them don't actually work. So
literally half.
The half that we record in actually doesn't have lights. I've got 2 lamps that I put on, and I've not bothered paying any electricity to fix them. Or I was going to, but I thought, well, I guess the worst case scenario is you die from messing with the electrics, but just remember to turn them off. But I was going to get these fancy smart bulbs and stuff.
We at the Beginner's Handbook do not endorse messing with your own house's electricity.
Yeah,
don't contact a qualified professional.
Yeah, certainly when I got
disclaimer.
When I got the house, there was, let me see, there's a socket outside this room that's like, it was live wired wrong. You see, if you touched that, you would have been shocked with the full thing of the house. It was my pal that noticed it. The person, anyway, it was a mess. It's now fixed. But anyway, that's moving off of the path that we're on. So, but anyway, we've invested a wee bit in lights, or you've invested a bit in lights, and you've not invested in tampering with the electronics or electricity in your house. I've got a mic, but I've got another mic. But we've thought of different ways of how to improve the production, and we've acted on the stuff that's within reason without going, let's spend $1,000 on equipment, let's say. We're not doing that, especially not at this stage. But
and I mean, talking about that, like, although John's saying like we've got different bits and pieces. Yeah. First thing that we done is we went, right, what do we already have? Yeah. Figured that out and went, right, run with that. Just keep going, keep doing what we're doing, and figure out what we can do with what we've already got. So then from that point, then we went, right, okay, we've done however many episodes we've done, and then we went, right, if we tweak this, if we tweak that, then should make a bit of a difference, should look a bit nicer, should look a bit better. Right, okay, let's make that little bit of investment. And again, if there's anybody out there that hasn't been put off starting their own channel for whatever it is that, you know, they do, baking, sewing, again, other RPG stuff, if you think that we're trying our best but not quite cutting it, and you think that you can do your own version, then just best bit of advice, just grab whatever you've got and just get going and just keep doing it. And then from that point, then if you don't hate it, if you think that it's something that you want to keep doing, then think about picking up other bits and pieces. Don't buy stuff before you've already tried it. That's basically, again, not really what I thought we'd be talking about, but if anybody's thinking about doing that, just get up and going.
What I'll do, just because it gives us that flexibility, this is a kind of state of the channel type video, but we want to just give you a bit more of like the behind the scenes, like what we've been doing up until this point. Because sure, this channel's about, as small as it is, it's about just giving our opinion on stuff. If you're interested in hearing it or not, that's fine, you know, but there will eventually be some people that listen to it and they will engage, and we've had some engage. We have had feedback and stuff already privately, and we've had feedback, not through comments, but I mean, for us, that's part of the thing. Like, even with the stuff I was doing before we talked, you know, it was a lot of humming and hawing about it, especially because I didn't want to commit to a lot of work, which is why I ended up doing rather than publishing games. And I've written quite a few games. I've not got to the point of like self-publishing or like refining their presentation. It's too much work that I can be bothered with right now. But you know, this sort of stuff, we ended up just going, right, we've spoke about it. It's not like we got to a point where like we're not doing any work, you know. We just thought, you know what, after that busy period, and some of our best pals will know, like especially between Christmas and to past my birthday, our birthdays in February, even through March, I'm usually like, I'm busy most weeks, like weekends and stuff like that, which was when we did our games, so it's really hard to get time to do this stuff. So we thought, let's just start a clean slate, get going. And I've really enjoyed it. I've had a bit of a blast, and because we've had that sort of fun, we could use the equipment we've bought separately, if any, you know, we can use that separately. Jamie does stuff already with lights, and he's got a very nice camera, as you can probably tell. I do voiceovers and stuff for work videos and a whole bunch of stuff. So I've got some of this equipment. I've done editing in the past, so we used what we had. And definitely, if you're thinking of trying a channel, even if nothing else, I would recommend just making yourself a video and publishing it privately, and then come back to it in a week. And you'll hate it, but you'll probably look back on it and go, do you know what, I actually enjoyed making that. And that's basically kind of, well, it's not quite what happened with us, but certainly looking back, you know, we've enjoyed our stuff that we've done so far.
Yeah, and the thing with us and our stuff is, normally with me, I'm the kind of person that'll do something, review it, not publish it, review it, and then go, that should have been this, that should have been that, be hyper critical, and then scrap it, and then start again. And then that that little cycle just keeps going round and round and round. And I think you're similar to that as well.
I'm somewhat, but I'm also somebody, see, just cause, especially because we're both busy for different reasons. But when you start, because I do a lot of stuff I've worked on, like I've worked with pals and stuff as well in the past, so I know what it's like to like work with others. And not saying this has worked, but I just mean like I've professionally worked with people I've been very close to, and when you start crossing like two different people working on stuff, the time to get things working, you're now needing to navigate different timelines. So it does depend. I'm a bit like that, but certainly just as things has went on, it's separate to this sort of stuff. But I'm also like, let's just get it done. You know, even prepping for this today, this stuff, like we actually had other ideas, and originally I had a bit like I wanted to do like an hour and a half episode, potentially for this, and I thought, let's just stick to a certain thing, just let's get it done. You know, so I've got that kind of pull the trigger element, but usually, but just that. But
yeah, and again, that's one of the things that doing this. So although, like, we've known each other for a long time, because
kids.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, because
I don't remember much from my childhood, mostly probably from falling over too much. But
well, that's the thing. So again, delving into our personal past. So like, Jordan's gran stays essentially across the road from my gran. So when we were really small, we knew each other, but then we went to different schools. But then we ended up back at the same school.
Yeah.
So if you look at that overall period, we've known each other for a long time. And if you look at it, the kind of proper length of time when you can kind of consciously remember what's going on, it's still a long time that we've known each other for. You know, you're talking kind of near enough 2 decades. Scary. Anyways, so when you look at that, then you go, right, there's that close relationship that you have, but when it comes to like doing this, like I was talking about, and it's not procrastination, it's just it's wanting to do the best you can, and because you've produced something, you know every micro bit of detail, and therefore you can pick out a flaw. Whereas with Jordan, again, he will review stuff and he will do it to the best of his ability, even though he's talking about just pulling the trigger, but he's got more of a kind of just go with it. So with doing this as well, one of the things that I've enjoyed from it is just kind of being a bit more not spontaneous, but just kind of going, right, okay, do you know what, just ignore that, right, just get it done.
It's not like not that we don't care. Like, it's things we did shorts and we'll keep doing them recently, but I was just very much like, because we spoke about like, do we record them like nice camera and stuff, and I was kind of like, do you know what, I've seen plenty of shorts that the quality was actually total garbage, it was a hot mess. But I mean, it doesn't matter though. Like, the thing is, the point's getting across, and it was just one of these things I said, let's just try it. Not so much because I didn't want to spend time setting up. That wasn't what it was about. It was just about going, let's just try something, put it out. The worst thing that will happen is we just make it private so nobody can see it. But I mean, that's the worst case, and this is what's been fun about this, because this is certainly not something that probably would have done. I might have maybe done an audio only thing, but how much would have actually done on it, it's hard to tell, because there's not a big motivation. But over time this has kind of grown with us, especially because we've done things like, even you've probably noticed if you've seen early episodes, we used to like we have a camera that can record a certain amount of footage, so it's like we pause stuff every time we go on, we restart. I felt like the flow wasn't working, but that's fine. We didn't want to work to a level where we had it all smooth. We thought, let's just do what we think works, push it out, give it a bit of time, come back and look at it. Jamie's been great, not reviewing, but going back through episodes and looking at some of the stuff we've got, because I've picked up stuff even editing. I look back at an old episode. Well, I say I looked at an old episode, I barely got through the 5 minutes of an old episode, just partly because I hate my own voice, right? And even in these more recent ones, God, see the editing for this one and the last episode we done, because there's a couple special things we wanted to add in. It's going to be hard, man. It's going to be real hard. I'm going to match up the waveforms for the audio and stuff, and then I'm going to mute the audio so I can't hear it. But it's just one of these things though. We've just, you'll see these little production elements change, and it's because we're finding out what works. So if somebody is on a smaller channel, whatever the channel may be, whether it's role playing or cooking, doesn't matter, it's worth just giving it a go and seeing what happens. It's worth doing it, and if anyone's got any advice for how we should be doing it, let us know. Don't forward us things that have a huge production value, that it's like a full-time company that's developed videos, because we're not going to be able to do that. Although if you think they're a good channel and there's good stuff to look at for us, and maybe even guidance that we could learn from, send us that. In terms of production, if you think there's stuff we should be doing better, send us your setup videos, even if it's your own. It's just interesting for us, because part of this whole thing for us is it's about learning ourselves. Like, the stuff I've learned even just from talking to Jamie on these podcasts about. And again, that's the thing, like, at no point during any of this are we saying that the way we're doing things right now is perfect, and that's it, and that's the way it's going to be, and we've reached a peak. That's at no point are we saying that. And the same as well with, like, when we're giving advice, and I'll use the air quotes for that there, like, the way that I've viewed it originally, and I think the way that you viewed it as well, is that what we're trying to do is go, in such and such a situation, this happened to us, this is how I felt during that period of time, and if this or this had happened, it would have made me feel better. We're trying to give our personal experience, rather than turning around and saying, this is exactly how you should do this is exactly how you should do that, and if you do it any other way, then you're crazy. It's nothing like in any of the episodes ever like that. We're just trying to give you different points of view, because we don't always agree, and we might agree eventually after we talk about something, but we haven't necessarily approached it from the same point of view. So although we've been at the exact same game and we've seen the exact same situation play out, and we've both been there and we've both been involved in it, we've got two totally different angles on it. That's true. There's even stuff that Jamie doesn't remember correctly. Like when I played your character, did you ever look back at the Roll20 stuff for that? By the way, I had a look. I was definitely playing the Duke. I played the Duke. Anyways,
Yeah.
There's stuff like that. Like there's plenty of stuff. Like we pick up stuff as we go.
Well, even earlier on tonight, before we started, I was convinced something had happened in one of our recording sessions, and we've had a look, and it's not there.
I mean, we didn't go through it all, but you'll know the episode if you. Well, I don't know when it's coming out, so I won't go into it.
Yeah,
it could be a while before it's out.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. But.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think we're going into some detail here, but I mean the thing is, it's more just giving you this is what's going on. This is what's the thought process for our channel's been like so far. We will actually do a full proper review of this sort of stuff, but I was speaking to Jamie earlier about it, and would like to maybe dedicate that to like an anniversary video that we actually maybe even go through some of the older videos and cringe through some of it. There's other episodes that I've watched that I've not cringed through, by the way, even with my own voice, which I'm much better at listening to now. But there's older stuff, God, some of the faces I pull, God, it's so hard, especially when you're going through it frame by frame and editing, you're like, oh God. But yeah, so I mean, we've invested a wee bit more time into this. So, and I think for us, we've really talked about what we get out of it. And for us, the bottom line is it's fun. I mean, that's why we're doing it. We enjoy production. We enjoy. You know, I've moaned a wee bit earlier about editing can be dead monotonous, but I actually still enjoy it. You know, it's just one thing I was worried about bringing it in early was putting in a lot, potentially thinking it would be like I need to start fresh every time, and then the quality's not great. So is it worth the investment? And even with the wee bit of work it is now, you know, I think it's absolutely worth the time investment. And I enjoy listening to some of them. I do go back, guilty of going back and listening to some of them. So, but for us, I mean, the biggest thing for me is I'm quite excited about engaging more in this community, and that kind of takes us on to, I think probably one of the other things that we do get out of this, other than just the kind of fun, and we enjoy talking about our stuff that we do, like our opinions and perspectives that we both have, but we also get to like debrief our games. You know, now we don't tend to sit down and go, what we do in this episode, and get a pen out. We don't do that. Like, I want it to stay casual. Maybe that will change in the future, but I mean, I don't think it will, but maybe it will in a long time.
I don't think it necessarily will, unless there's a big group of people that want a kind of
certain type of
campaign update.
Yeah, sure.
I think practically every episode that we've done, we've talked about our long-term campaign that we've been doing. So I think the only way it'd be kind of pen and paper stuff is if something like that was what people were wanting. But I think essentially the way that we do it is we'll just talk, and when we're talking, whatever the conversation drifts towards is the thing that we'll go, do you know what, we should probably talk about that. So then what we'll do is we'll go away and we'll have a wee think, and the first however many things that pop into our head on that topic, without discussing it with each other beforehand, we then turn up, get everything all set up and start talking about it. And that's, well, maybe that's obvious that there isn't a particularly strong structure. Maybe that's obvious for everybody.
If people would prefer that though, like, we're open to it, you know, we're more just this is the thing, like, this is why we encourage people to just do stuff, because we could have spun around for a long time without even releasing anything.
And I mean, ultimately, when the first couple of episodes, like, if you look at it, it's more based on a sort of checklist for getting started playing and a sort of checklist for getting started running a game. So there had to be a bit more planning for that, but the way it was also recorded was so that we could essentially work our way through a sheet of notes. And originally I was more for that, because again, like, with me and the way I'm a bit more logical, facts, figures, checklist. Jordan, with his stuff, he's more creative. So when we were originally going, right, okay, what we're going to do, I kind of pushed heavily for that kind of format, more rigid with notes, so that we could stop the camera and the recording equipment and make sure we don't miss anything. But then when we started doing it, and then when we started looking at it, we went, it's a bit kind of, as well as the camera starting and stopping, like, you could see that we're kind of starting and stopping, and it's a bit stilted, and it was a bit,
it's funny looking back,
a bit off, and it's funny looking back, whereas it was you who went, right, I know we need to start and stop the camera because of the technological limitations with it, and legislation behind that and stuff. It's not the camera, but nobody cares. So you went, right, I know we do that, but is there not a way that we can do this, we can do that? And we are looking at ways to streamline that further, but that's for a different conversation.
Yeah.
So then we went, right, okay, well, if we just quickly start and stop the camera, and then it means that if we just keep talking, because the mic will still pick everything up, and then we'll put up something, and then we'll keep going, let's see how that goes. So we done that, and then it meant that we didn't have to kind of worry about notes and stuff too much, and we just felt we were a bit more relaxed with it. And then from that point, it's just kind of slowly went and went and went. So that's essentially how that decision came about.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the thing. Like, the thing is, I'm a programmer, so I mean, talking about checklists, that's practically my whole life, especially because I'm a project manager. Like, in my job, I program, but my title's a project manager technically, but. So there's a lot of all this stuff, but I've just learned through doing this. I've done this specific type of thing a lot, like, well, not like this exactly, but it's producing stuff. I do videos for work and things like that as well. Although I'm more like I'm doing the donkey work for that one, which I'm more than happy to do. It's a lot of fun. But it's just one of these things I find sometimes in practice. It's about what's the thing that takes your mind off of this stuff. I'm pointing towards the camera for anyone listening. Like, because the technical aspects of producing stuff can get a bit overwhelming, I think is the word. And even how we're doing it now, it's a compromise between where I think I would like it to be in terms of streamlining it and where it was. But we're in such a good spot, I think, with it. So that kind of takes us on to what we'll probably get coming next, because the thing is, we get a lot of stuff and we like breaking our games down, but I think there's stuff that we wanted to do but we decided to not do it, at least not early on. And part of the thinking for me was because, well, we want to just get stuff out and try it, so let's not worry about the more complicated aspects of it. So I think then that kind of takes us on to, like, for me, one of the things I would like to do, at the moment we're kind of hitting record and stuff, whereas we can actually eventually get it probably to a point where we can stream through our footage and actually get everything done in one go. It cuts down production time, but it lets us focus on our content, and we could maybe even, I would say probably one of the things I'd like to do in the future, we've spoke about this before, but we've not made a decision on it yet. We'll wait a wee bit before we do. But potentially one of the things that we'll be looking to do next is actually maybe doubling up, not doubling up episodes, but producing 2 episodes in a month is one of the things I'd be keen on doing. That will probably come more when we've got a streamline going and things, because that'll cut down editing and all that, and it means we don't need to spend we don't need to spend a night between me editing within the night and then any other stuff that you might do from your side. It saves a week of work basically, and we could double up quite easily. But I think on top of that, I think particularly specials, it would be nice to do some live streams, and I've dipped my toes in that in the past, both through a coding perspective. I did some live streams of coding and making different products and apps and stuff. I actually done it more for work, because I was actually taking that and using the product of the video, and using it for work and training and things. But so there's things like that we'd probably quite like to do. We've not made an idea, but that's something that you could look out for in the future. And I think one of the last things I'll say now before if you want to cover anything else that you would like to do next. So maybe in the next year, so this is all the 2023 what's coming next, or what we're thinking of doing and what you should maybe expect. Is there's things like attending conferences and things like that. I already do that. It's one of the ones I went to last year was Tabletop Scotland, which was a total blast. So things like that, we're going to look into things like actually doing that. It doesn't mean we'll both need to be there and things, but you might see us tweeting out from there, whether it's one or both of us that's there, and you'll actually maybe put some pictures up from it as well. So there's things like that you can maybe expect too. So we'll just see what ones are coming up, but there's certainly a few that I've got in mind already, so and I'll be going to them anyway. Yeah. But you might see us there or one of us at least there from a beginner's handbook perspective.
Yeah, and I mean, like with Jordan talking about the conferences there and things that.
Sorry, conventions is the word. Conferences is very more. It's what I'm going to a lot of them for work. That's why it's in my head. Conventions.
I was kind of thinking that. I was going, that's very formal. Like you up doing a keynote speech. This is the way that we should be taking.
There is keynote speeches.
Yeah.
My dad was up to one of them speaking to these guys. Oh, man, that's such an amazing. I can't can't remember the name of the company, but they do a lot of good stuff. They do what's that thing called, Beowulf? They do the Beowulf stuff. I've got a bunch of mats from them. I don't think they actually spoke at it but I had a great stand. Anyway, it's good fun. If you've not been to a convention, you should absolutely try it at least once and do it with pals and have some fun with it. But we had a blast.
Make a day of it.
But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, despite the fact that I never got invited to the last one. But anyway, so from that point of view, we're always trying to kind of make sure that we're engaging with people. So we've got the different digital ways of doing that, which is Facebook, Twitter, Discord, comments on YouTube, Instagram, that's kicking about there.
Spotify's one as well that we've only same recently. I've been doing it a while, but it's something that
we've not really mentioned, bizarrely.
It's just I know, forgetting to do it. Spotify polls and things like that.
Yeah, so polls, questions, all that sort of stuff. So there's different things digitally that we've already been doing and things, and like Jordan was saying, there's physical things as well, like different conventions and whatever else. So we're always looking to get dialogue with people, whether it's physically there or through the digital world. So if there is anything that's kicking out there that you use that you think is decent that we don't have a clue about, then let us know about that as well. I think a lot of the time we probably fall in the trap of saying, let us know what you want us to do, rather than let us know how we can actually engage with you. Because if whatever percentage of people are out there and 10% of them are using Discord but 90% of them are using something else that we don't know about, then okay, we'll have a look at it and we'll try our best to get it up and get it running and get it working for you. So let us know that as well.
Right, but basically we're open. We're completely open. I would say as well, speaking about engaging with people, certainly one of the things I think you can expect from us going forward is, we're already using the social stuff, but I think we'd like to upgrade that a bit, because I think at the moment it's only really for showing off. We're starting to change that a wee bit now, but just you'll see more of it's what I'm saying, where hopefully it's going to be a bit more open, a bit more, rather than it just being here's a new video, here's a post for it. We want to maybe actually go in and see people's stuff. I do that already outside of our like Twitter, isn't it? Outside of the beginner's handbook, I'm doing that anyway, but we'd like to bring some of that in, because people have got so much cool stuff out there. There's so many good. Twitter's a great resource for finding a bunch of stuff, but Instagram's there's so much amazing things that people show off on that, physically show off, whether it be models they're making or little kind of anecdotes that they've got that they're doing in whatever their equivalent of shorts is on Instagram.
Loads of great people with loads of great maps as well.
Pinterest has got a lot of great maps. So we won't really use Pinterest, but there's certainly stuff there's amazing resources. I'm sure people that use Pinterest are using Instagram as well for their stuff. So you'll probably see us a lot more on there, and we encourage you to not reach out, but follow us or engage with us somehow, because certainly we're keeping our eye on it already. It's just that it's still quite early days. I know it's been 6 months of it. It's been early days, so we've not seen a lot yet, but although we have actually had messages so far, but it's just we're happy, and we'll be looking out for things that people are saying, so we're all ears basically. We'd like to see more of that. So anyway,
so as well as that, something else that
I'm excited about this one.
It's a bit of a strange one, because currently at the time of recording this hasn't happened. So I'll explain what I mean. So I'd mentioned to Jordan and the rest of the kind of main group that we play with. So that is the Chameleon and the Author, for anybody that's been following along. That isn't their names, that is not their professions. We do not play with a professional chameleon, just in case anybody's wondering. It's just a couple of nicknames that we fired together just to protect anonymity, because we don't know if they want us to be dropping who they are. So that's what's going on there if you don't know. So I've put forward that I'm going to run a game for them, and everybody's happy and want to see what's going on there. But through us talking, and because I haven't done a lot of games, the kind of mainly a player rather than a DM. So this is still relatively new for me. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait until the first game's out the road, otherwise he's getting behind the scenes knowledge that he shouldn't be getting, so that's not going to happen. So we're going to get different things recorded and put out, and we're basically going to track creating the game from the beginning stages right the way through to whatever point we're currently at with it. So what you're going to be seeing is me as somebody who's relatively new, my thought process behind picking different things and different elements and, you know, whatever else we're going to do, and then we're going to track that along. So it's going to be a kind of sort of live follow through, I suppose is the best way of describing it. So initially what you might see is possibly me talking about different bits and pieces by myself, and then you'll get a reaction over here. So not 100.
It won't be like that. But
so we're not 100% sure about how it's going to happen, but we'll be looking to do that anyway. And just from the point of view of, again, you've got kind of two things working here: somebody that's relatively new and relatively inexperienced of creating a game and then running the game. And as well as that, you'll also see it from kind of step one through to step whatever, you know, when that finishes. Yeah. So that should be, I don't 100% know when that's going to appear and what we've got kind of queued up and things. So once that starts happening, because the first game should be soon. Mm-hmm. Don't 100% know, but the first game should be soon.
It's going to be next few months, a couple months, I think, easily within then.
I think even sooner, possibly weeks maybe. So once that happens, we might squeak our schedule about and kind of drop it in earlier, or if we manage to get around to it, this might be the sort of extra video or episode. I think it's the best way to describe it in case you're listening on one of the podcast platforms. The extra episode that's getting dropped in, that might be the kind of the bonus feature every now and then. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how it goes. We don't have a kind of rough.
Yeah,
don't have a.
I'm quite excited about that because I mean I've done so many games, like, and the guy that does most of our games, especially like the ones that me and Jamie play, I mean they've been doing them, I mean, pretty steadily, like once a week, you know. Whereas within the last year and a half, I mean, I've been doing games like with you guys once a week, but I've been running games like 2-3 times a week in some cases. Like usually at least once, usually twice a week. You know, it kind of alternates some of the games that I do. So it's been great. There's so much, but I mean, we could have had that idea, and I could have went, "Oh, I'll do that." But one, I certainly don't have the best advice in the world. I can certainly give, I would consider, good advice on basically not overdoing it, because there's a lot of guys I know that are into this and they overdo it every time, and their games end up being a bit not great. Most not because it's like that their idea's rubbish or anything. It's just that the game becomes, it kind of deteriorates into a shamble, mostly because some, especially new people, get quite stressed with it. So, but I've done that before. I'm a guy that can give you advice. Whereas Jamie's going to be doing this. This is a completely new idea. I know you've been working away at it in the background, but there's stuff like, it's going to be, I mean, not a brand new GM or anything, but certainly coming from a fresher kind of pool of GMs. And there's going to be things, I'm certainly not going to be sitting in these videos and saying, this is what you should do, Jamie, you know, because, or at least I don't think that's what we're going to do. I've not thought about it like that, because it'd be cool to actually get real time. You know, rather than me saying this is how you should actually structure your game, it's not going to be quite like that. It's going to be Jamie, well, at least at the moment, at least as it stands and the way I see it, and we'll figure this out as we kind of go forward with developing the idea, where we'll be getting like, this is the stuff you've picked up from actually doing it, and this is some of your thought process. Maybe we will try and break it down at some point, but it's certainly not going to be a thing where Jordan will be telling Jamie how to make a game. It's not going to be that. It's going to be great to see how you develop this.
So I think ultimately the way it's going to be is, because too late, the first lot of stuff's already prepped and it's not getting changed.
This is how you should have done it, Jamie.
So basically I think it's more going to be a case of first game will get ran, then after the first game's get ran, then we'll sit down and talk about it. And I think more the way I was kind of thinking is that I'll let you ask away and go, right, okay, well, that's why was that, and then I can then explain it and why I done it, and why I've picked certain things, but also I can then talk about certain things from it because you'll have played through it, so I'm not spoiling anything by going, oh yeah, you never seen the assassin that was hiding up the tree there, and then you go, right, and remember, assassin and tree do not get killed on first game. You know, it means that nothing like that's happening. It may be a double bluff, might not be a double bluff. So it means that we can kind of review it. You can also maybe critique it at the same time. I can also discuss it and give you my thought process whilst we're going through it. I don't really know. We'll kind of figure it out.
We'll figure it out, but basically it's not going to be a thing where it's almost like hand-holding someone through a first game. It's not going to be that. It's almost going to be a retrospective on the development of your material. And maybe even if might even be stuff that we've learned through doing the podcast, that I'm certain the stuff that Jamie's picked up through just us talking and things like that he's worked in. I mean, I don't know anything about it, and I'm not going to ask Jamie anything about all of that stuff. It's going to be stuff that's fresh for me to hear. It's going to be stuff that you're basically bringing to the table. At most, I'm going to maybe know what headers we're going to talk under, which is how you've structured it. That's it. So I'm really looking forward to that, especially because you've had Jamie's a long-term player. You know, he's played a lot of games, a lot of different systems too. Which there's some people I know that long-term players, but they've only ever played D&D.
The one system.
So you're going to have learning that other GMs might not have. There's some GMs that come in fresh, whereas you're coming in from a long-term player with lots of systems under your belt in terms of from the player's perspective. So it'll be interesting to see how it works up. Look forward to it.
Ultimately, going back however many minutes to whatever point of the episode when we were talking, if you're planning on doing something creative and publishing it, just go for it, and then afterwards think about what you can tweak, change, whatever, and then from that point go forward. Don't panic, don't overanalyze, don't be too critical, just go for it. Basically the same thing's happening here, because what we could have done from that point is we could have done exactly what Jordan was talking about, because Jordan is more experienced as a DM GM. Then we could have done like literally building a game from scratch, and it could have been me sitting going, right, okay, I'm thinking about doing this, and then we could have been getting real-time feedback at that point with Jordan going, right, okay, well, have you considered this, have you considered that, and we could have done that for a series. We could still do that as a little series.
Well, I think we did early on have an idea. We'll see if this is a next year thing. It just depends, but certainly like building a story, like how do we do it? Because I've built I've got like 5 or 6 I've written that I've written in like a format that I could run, but certainly not publish. But there's certainly things along those we could be doing. But for this idea though, I mean, it's a scene. We won't spoil what it is, but it's it's a history kind of period and themes that I don't know anything about. As far as I know with them is they're in a couple of games, and I know it's not true to the history, so that's as much as I know about it. So I've not even made characters yet. So, but it's going to be cool. Anyway,
he's not even got the brief yet for it.
No, I don't care. I'm going to love it anyway. I know I'm going to love it. The setting sounds great. Do you know? I'm just really interested.
And that's the thing as well for the author and the chameleon. If they're watching and listening, he does not know. He doesn't know anything. Just stress that.
Not really. But so that's basically some of the stuff that I think there's lots of ideas we've got, but it's not worth us really talking about them yet. It's still quite early. And I think with the episode, if we do one around like a retrospective since we first published, you know, we'll know a lot more what it is we're actually where we're at. So there's a lot of ideas. I mean, we've talked about live streams and things like making a game with viewers and things like that. I don't know if that'll be within the next year. I mean, it's feasible. It just depends if people want to see that. But you know, there's a whole bunch of stuff we can do. But that's the core stuff that you will see is in terms of maybe boosted production. You might, if things do change over the next 6, 7, 8 videos you watch, what we're learning, just like people might be learning from these videos, we might be learning from people who watch the videos, who knows, but it's all just a process, and it's been a total blast. So it's been a very positive experience, you know. Certainly publishing stuff on YouTube, I'm like, I don't want to do that. I just not saying about this, but generally I'm like, I don't like how I look on camera. I'm not self-conscious. I just know every time I speak or every still that I've ever had of my face, it's always in my face. It does not look good. Also hate the voice, but guess what? We just decided to keep let's just do it. It was like, what was it, February this year, we decided let's just do it, and then we decided, but was it April or June or July? It was around that time we were like, let's schedule one for that time. It just took a wee bit of time, and they ended up just coming out, and we've had a blast so far.
Yeah,
so.
And I mean, another thing as well, through slightly delaying recording and uploading and things, was that we also went, right, we could end up in a period where we're sitting over the kind of winter period where things start to get a bit hectic for the both of us, and then like episodes just disappear, and then a couple of months later they reappear or whatever. So we went, right, well, during this period just now, because we've not kind of announced that we're doing anything, let's just build up a little stack, and then once we're happy and once we've got enough there, then we'll just start releasing and going. And then it means that should anything happen and we get a bit tight for time, we've got a little kind of buffer there anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I mean, ultimately, actually, it's funny you say that, because the very first episode I think we ever, I don't know if we released it, but I think we had it ready to go out. We ended up pulling it because it was like, we both looked at it and went, I don't know about this. That was pulling things out of hat. I don't think we put that online. Or did we put it online and hide it? Anyway, it wasn't. The concept felt good at the time, but this is what's funny about doing stuff and then looking back on it. We just decided, let's redo the first episode. That's what it was.
Yeah,
it was
so
the first
episode 0 get redone. And again, it was part what we talked about earlier, the fact that the camera was on, off, on, off, on, off. It just felt like the episode never started going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch the episode 0 that's there just now, it's a little bit better because we actually talk about ourselves a bit more, whereas what we tried to do with the original episode 0 before it got fired in the bin was we put down a random set of questions and literally pulled them out of a hat to try and give you a sense of who we were, rather than just telling you who we were and letting you figure that out yourselves through seeing us talk to each other and things. So I think that ultimately, and again, this is, you'll notice that all the ideas that aren't very good, it's probably me that suggested them. I kind of pushed for the hat and the questions originally. And the reason that I done that was because I went,
it's funny, I don't remember how it came about. I just remembered like we'd done it. Anyway, it's just
so
funny.
The reason that I kind of went for that more is I went, yeah, but will people get a sense of who we are through us just talking? You know, if we're talking about, I don't know, some fight that's happened in one of your games and we're going, oh, it was great, and you know, blah blah, and talking away, are they gonna click with us? Are they gonna engage with us? Or are they just gonna go, two guys talking about something that they did, like switch off? So I thought this is a way of kind of getting our personalities across, and people will be able to figure out if they click with us or not. And then you watch it and you go, oh my god, no.
It feels very almost manufactured. It's weird. But then at the time, I mean, I was totally up for it at the time as well. Do you know what I mean?
At the time, it didn't feel like that. And it's only when you start watching it you go, even bizarrely, if it was just a subconscious thing that you know that you're being recorded, so you don't feel that you're kind of shutting yourself off a bit, but then when you look back at it, you are possibly, but
it's just part of the process. So that's why it's worth it's a kind of screw it, just do it mentality. And I've had a bit more of that, especially I'm very much like that now, because what you get to lose from trying it. But this is why we've ended up, I think probably ultimately why we ended up doing it now, because we just went, let's just do it, you know, like between us chatting about stuff. It's not like Jamie said, Jordan, let's stop talking about it and let's just, it wasn't like that. It was just we both kind of came to that conclusion. No, we've done this, let's just try it and just whatever, and then it became what it is. But anyway, that's kind of, well, you've heard kind of a bit more about us. I mean, you've heard probably some of this before, but if you want to know more, we did go into some detail, but there's more detail. It is a more compact episode, I think, but the very first episode, or the episode 0, whatever we titled it, that has the kind of core stuff and really why it came about. I know we covered a lot of that, so if you feel like we covered it enough, that's fine. But if you do it here a bit more, maybe a bit extra details elsewhere, there is a shorter video that you can listen to. It's the very first one we've done. But yeah, so I think then so we've talked about that, we've talked about kind of what we're getting out and some of the changes you might have seen already, and we've talked about what we want to do next. So I think for us then, that just leaves, normally we do the question at the beginning, we're doing it at the end this time. I think the main thing for us is, if you have something that you would like to see or questions about how we've done things so far, we'll leave it open, just ask away. We'll get comments here on YouTube, or you can maybe a Spotify poll. If we can get a question general enough, we might be able to ask on there too. But when we post on Instagram or Twitter or wherever it is you find us, feel free to shoot stuff. We do keep an eye on it, or we will see it. Even if we're not watching it, we'll get notifications. It's not like we're inundated with direct messages online, so we'll certainly be able to respond to people that come in. So just let us know, and especially if there's something you want to see or something prioritised that we've said, let us know, because that's something we can just switch gears to. And I think that's really it from me. Is there anything else just before we go?
No, I mean, cool. I think that's pretty much it. Just again, if there's anything you want, if there's anything you don't want, then just get in touch with us, and wherever it suits you. So there's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's Discord.
Discord, I always forget Discord.
And then there's comments in YouTube, and there's the questions in Spotify and things. They'll be more specific to whatever the episode is, rather than a kind of open platform to engage with. So just have a wee look and see what that is. Okay, well, cool. Well, I think that's it from us. This was originally going to be a very short update, but actually we've gave you, I think, enough for you to know exactly what we're looking at doing going forward. And I think we're quite keen, so if there's anything, just please let us know, because we're excited about some of the ideas. I'm particularly excited about your own kind of breakdown of your games and stuff. I'm really keen to see how that goes. But okay, well, I think then we'll just wrap up. Thanks very much for listening and or watching. It's bye from me. And bye from me as well.
See ya.